the reason I'm here is because our first 3 candidates have arrived for the practical training, which I'm very excited. So in other words, it's a kind of also an inaugural session for all of us.
My biggest piece of advice is that you have to believe in yourself. You are a registered nurse already, and all we need to do is transfer your registration from your country to our country. Okay, so believe in yourself. The second thing is, please speak English as much as possible.
Communicate. Practice your English. Brush up on your basic nursing skills if you feel like you're a little bit rusty on anything and you need a refresher. And just, as Mel said, believe in yourself and reach out if you feel like you need that extra support. We are here to support you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Saavumilu. Today, we have come up with a new episode for overseas nurses who are doing their registration through new pathway, which is theoretical examination and OSCE, objective structured clinical examination. So today's video is about an OSCE preparation course which is started in Lonsdale Education Center, and Artilo has enrolled with the Lonsdale Education Center for enrolling their candidates to help with their preparation. So we'll get into more details. For that, we have Rajesh Thomas, solicitor in High Court of New Zealand from Artilo.
Hello, everyone.
We have Melanie Eddy, business owner and clinical quality manager from Lonsdale Education Center.
Kia ora, everybody.
And we have Joe Findlayson, General Manager, Lonsdale Education Center. So welcome all of you. So my first question to you, Rajesh sir, why Artilo has chosen Lonsdale for enrolling your candidates to prepare their OSCE? Why Lonsdale?
Okay, thank you. The answer is very simple. The most reliable institution is providing OSCE training is Lonsdale, and this is through my experience working with Lonsdale for the past three years now, 3 years in the making. And also, I know about the experience they have. I was talking to Jo the other day. She was telling me that they've got a combined experience of around 14 years. They've got 5 qualified OSCE trainers, and on top of that, they have been the first one to introduce OSCE. Even before Nursing Council was doing that, they were doing OSCE testing for their CAP students. So, they are the best. So why should I go elsewhere? Yeah. That's why I've come to the best.
Thank you for that. And my next question to you, Mel. OSCE is not a new assessment for Lonsdale, as he said. So when you're considering preparing candidates for our OSCE preparation, so how much preparation have you done for training the candidates?
We've done a lot of preparation for this transition. We've known about the movement away from the traditional CAP into that OSCE space. So in the background for the last 6 or 7 months, we've been trying to develop a program which is unique to New Zealand, OSCE support and the tests that they're going to have to sit. So the history with us, with our OSCE, aligns very nicely to providing a training course, and we've been managed to have a lot of our data and scenarios that we've been using for a number of years for our OSCEs, which has been a movement into this new training space. So it is a different space for us because we've been assessment providers, and now we're moving into that training providers. But most of our nurses have done that train the trainer course. They are certified in that, and a lot of them have actually got their teaching qualifications. So we are moving away from assessing and then coming back into sort of training and educational support.
Thank you for that. So did you find any changes from the OSCE that you have been conducting in Lonsdale from the new session? Do you find any changes, or is it really different from the OSCE that you were conducting in Lonsdale all these years?
No, not a lot of changes. We have seen that because we are so familiar with Nursing Council's domain competencies and what they're requiring of the new OSCE test, being the 10 stations that you're being assessed on, A lot of that we've already actually been assessing using OSCE as an assessment tool for CAP for the past sort of 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
We've been offering CAP for 11 years, so we've got that really extensive experience with using OSCE as a tool. So we've ensured that all of our OSCE scenarios that we use in our OSCE preparation and support offering are really aligned with Council's domain competencies and requirements.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Rajesh, I would like to ask you how much your preparations going on, like how much preparation have you done so far to help with your candidates because they are on a new pathway, and how much preparation you have done so far to help with them to achieve their goal?
So that we all knew the change was going to come. We were waiting for it to happen. There was no clarity about what the changes were going to be. There was no clarifications around that. But once the changes were announced, the clarifications came. And a lot of our clients, my clients, were still in the process of getting their decision letter, and some had gone into the new regime, some still stayed in the old regime. Obviously, people who had got the decision letter to do the CAP, as it is now, Lonsdale is running the CAP program. They will be running it probably into the middle of next year or towards the end of next year. So, so anyone who's got a decision letter can still approach us. We will work with Lonsdale to get you a CAP seat there. Now, coming to this change, so the first conversation I had was with Lonsdale. So we were bouncing ideas of what we are going to do. And I know Mel, Joe and their team got into work immediately. They started putting together a big course. That's what Mel just said, 6 to 7 months time. In the meantime, because there were a lot of pressure from my clients to sit the theory part, and they wanted to sit the theory part, and they wanted some support. As you know, RT Law is a law firm, and for me, nursing is Greek and Latin, so I don't know anything. Fortunately, my wife is a nurse, and thank you, Ronia. I've requested my wife and Ronia to sit together, go through the theory part, start preparing some notes, and have a kind of online training session. So we have been doing that for 3-4 months now, and there are quite a few people who've been attending those classes have passed the theory, and now they are in the process of getting dates for the practical session in New Zealand. And this I'm right now in Auckland, as you know, in Lonsdale's facility, and the reason I'm here is because our first 3 candidates have arrived for the practical training, which I'm very excited. So in other words, it's a kind of also an inaugural session for all of us. And so the amount of work which has gone into building up some amount of theory coaching and the heaps of work by Lonsdale team has now resulted in this program being launched now. So those are definitely ongoing support will be there for my students. Into the future, probably Lonsdale team will also come and I'm hoping that the Lonsdale team will also give me a hand with doing the theory training as well. And because you are the experts in the field, we had to do something in a short notice so that because my clients were getting work done, so we had to put together something which we did. But I know there are a lot of room for improvement, and obviously if you come on board, we have a much more professional theory training as well. Now, the other thing what I've done is I've actually have a portal where we do the theory training, and those sessions are all recorded, and those recordings are made available to our clients so that they can go back and revisit those recordings.
My next question to you, Mel. There are many online learning facilities and training centers are available overseas in a lesser price than Lonsdale. So how are you going to justify it? How are you different from them?
Great question, and we have been a little bit swamped with knowledge of other providers that are offering OSCE training and support. And this is great, and it makes us competitive. But we do have a few key components to our course which puts us apart from anyone else. Now, the first part is that we are New Zealand registered nurses, all trained, born and trained in New Zealand. Okay, so that is one. We've got a number of years' experience of being NZRNs. The course is set in New Zealand, so to become successful, you have to be trained by New Zealanders, by New Zealand registered nurses, to get the most valuable and the most you can out of a course, because my concern is that if you are trained, perhaps not in New Zealand, in your place of where you're living at the moment, you just won't get the idiosyncrasies of being in New Zealand. So that's one of the points. The second point is we do have a very robust course that is very nursing specific. It is incredibly detailed. No stone has gone unturned with trying to capture as much information for these nurses that they need to be successful in their OSCEs. The last point would be, as we've said before, is that we do have these 5 OSCE trainers, and so they've been really well versed and trained into how to A, assess, and B, educate someone into providing that support for the nurses undertaking the new competency.
My next question again to you, do you think this new pathway will have a positive impact on nursing career in New Zealand?
So this is an interesting question, and the answer to this question, in my opinion, is that this is a big change for internationally qualified nurses, and we understand that, and whereas we're moving away from that traditional CAP model. But this model of assessment really aligns New Zealand to be aligned with international providers, and it just increases based on clinical skills. So when these nurses come and do the OSCE testing, they're pretty confident that they know all the clinical skills they need to do to pass the test. But as I said, it aligns New Zealand with current international best practice.
Thank you for that. My next question to you, Joe. When we are doing this video, the main criticism would be around job opportunities in New Zealand. So many of our nurses are struggling to get a job here now. So my question is it a new unexpected change happening here in New Zealand now, or will it change? What do you think?
I think that's a really valid question. We've just very recently seen that the job situation in New Zealand has become further constrained, and we see that in the media daily at the moment. There's reports every day of hospitals being understaffed. Health New Zealand have a hiring freeze, which is unofficial. We don't anticipate that this will continue. I think we've gotten to a point really where the public are not going to stand for it much longer, and Health New Zealand are going to have to act quickly to make sure that the hiring starts again within Health New Zealand. So I see this problem resolving itself hopefully in the near future. The other thing for candidates to remember who are wanting to come to New Zealand is that New Zealand is still a pathway to Australia. Once you have your New Zealand registration, you're able to directly apply for your APRA in Australia to get your Australian registration. So that's another sort of option that candidates have while the current job situation is constrained in New Zealand.
That's an additional bonus for New Zealand nurses. So what do you think, Rajesh, about the same questions? The struggle to get a job here in New Zealand at the moment, will it change, or what is your opinion as being a New Zealand citizen for a couple of years now? So what is your experience and what is your opinion about this situation now?
I personally believe the situation will change very soon because as Joe was pointing out, there are a lot of shortages. Hospitals have been closed, surgeries have been put away. That those things are not out there in the public as of now. It's only a matter of time. When the cancellations and closures become more, then it gets into the public arena and comes under public scrutiny. So it's going to happen sooner than later. That is one thing. The second thing is like there is also a little bit of like IQNs, which is internationally qualified nurses. They're having issues around employing an IQN as because of various other reasons. It's not just there's no shortage or there's no vacancies. It's because of the unreliable ways what IQNs have done. Say for instance, they'll have a job offer, they hold on to it, and then they will go and seek a job elsewhere. Whereas the first employer who's offered the job is still waiting for the IQN to come and join. So they think, is there any point of actually trying to employ IQN when there's no guarantee the person is going to come and work for us? And then there are other cases where they just started working, 2 months down the line, they resign the job and they go elsewhere. So all those things are also contributing. It's not just one factor on the whole. Say for instance, the CVs and covering letters are not up to scratch. We had to check. I had changed a lot of people's CVs and covering letters, and I found miraculously they're getting jobs as well. I'm not trying to sweep the whole problem under the carpet. Now, yes, they're finding it hard to get job. That's a fact. But it is not going to be like that forever. Things are going to change sooner than later. I strongly believe in that. And then a lot of people are also migrating to Australia. In the last year, we had a net migration of 144,000, I think, out of New Zealand, and majority of them were to Australia. So these type of things is going to cause more vacancies in New Zealand, nursing vacancies, and plus the fact, the elephant in the room is about the current current nurses retirements. Like that is a long seen problem. The DHPs or the Health New Zealand has always been considering that as a big problem which is around the corner. And so there will be a lot of people who are actually, there are a lot of nurses in New Zealand, which everybody will know, that have been working past the retirement age. They will have to retire. So all this, there's a lot of factors which is involved in it. So when because of all these factors, I personally believe that there's going to be more vacancies in the near future. Job hiring will again come back to normal levels as it used to be. And this is a cycle. I think there was a similar situation way back in 2008, 2009, I think, if my memory is right. And then there was a short period where nurses were not getting, IQNs were not getting jobs, and then suddenly, everybody started getting jobs. So it's just a matter of time. We'll have to be patient, hold on, and things will all be all right. I know it's hard for people who have come here, finish the care, living in New Zealand, which is expensive for them, looking for a job and all those things. I know it's extremely stressful for them. I feel for them, and I because I myself as a migrant, I exactly know how it is, how burdened it'll be for them and for their families. So yeah, but it is what it is. But I personally believe things will change in the near future.
Yeah. So we are winding up the session. Before that, I just wanted to ask you, do you have any advice or any tips for the upcoming overseas nurses, who will be registered in New Zealand? So do you want to give them some tips or advice? That would be grateful.
I've got lots of tips and advice, but my biggest piece of advice is that you have to believe in yourself. You are a registered nurse already, and all we need to do is transfer your registration from your country to our country. Okay, so believe in yourself. The second thing is, please speak English as much as possible. Communication is one of the biggest factors that we focus on here at Lonsdale around our OSCE support training. It is also an area where council is focused on as well, as around that communication. But trust in yourself and come and get some training and support, because what we know is that the better prepared you are before you sit the OSCE, the more successful the outcome is.
My advice is same as Mel: communicate, communicate, communicate. Practice your English. Brush up on your basic nursing skills if you feel like you're a little bit rusty on anything and you need a refresher. And just, as Mel said, believe in yourself and reach out if you feel like you need that extra support. We are here to support you.
So I think we had an informative and useful session. I wish you all the best for your endeavor and with this 100% success rate. And thank you for your valuable time that's spent for us today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.